Let's imagine that you're a chef hoping to make it big. Whether you know her from Gilmore Girls or Parenthood, you've probably wished that Lauren Graham was your mom at some point. The actress rose to fame in the 2000s for playing Lorelei on Gilmore Girls, alongside Alexis Bledel, but she has appeared in a lot of other TV shows and films to boot, so there are many you may recognize her from. Graham has been a household name for decades by this point, and fans have been able to watch her mature as an actress as her career has progressed. What about her life before all the fame, though? What was it like, and how did it impact her as she found critical acclaim and grew her career? Per IMDb, Graham was born on March 16, 1967, in Honolulu, Hawaii. Suddenly, the opportunity comes up to audition for Hell's Kitchen, the popular reality show that pits you against other passionate culinary professionals for a chance to work with the world-renowned, and frighteningly intense, Michelin-starred chef Gordon Ramsay. You make it through rounds of auditions and finally get word that the television network would, in fact, like you as a contestant on the upcoming season. But this puts you in a tricky place. Your skills are in the spotlight now and you'd better perform in order to avoid that shame-filled walk out of the kitchen that so many contestants before you were forced to take. But it's not just the straight fear of Gordon Ramsay's grimace that courses through your veins. To learn more about her childhood and how she has changed over the decades, keep reading. Lauren Graham's transformation has been quite the fascinating one. Lauren Graham had an international upbringing far from growing up in a small town like Stars Hollow, the picturesque, and fictional, small town in Connecticut where Gilmore Girls is set. Lauren Graham was raised all over the world thanks to her father, who worked for the U.S. Agency for International Development. She spent the first few years of her life in Tokyo, Japan, where her mother's parents, who were missionaries, also lived. Graham was just 3 weeks old when she moved to Tokyo in 1967. Her family wouldn't return to the U.S. It's the fact he carries with him an incredible ability to make contestants feel downright awkward in front of their peers. No one wants to receive a soul-crushing lecture in front of a whole staff of kitchen workers from anyone, much less Ramsay. Until 1972, after which her parents divorced and Graham lived with her dad. She told The Wall Street Journal her parents thought this would give her more stability, as her mom was in art school at the time. While they were back in the States, Graham's home was still uprooted time and time again. And, since it's a reality show, personalities can clash, unexpected things often happen in the blink of an eye, and contestants are left scrambling to get back on track after it all goes down. By the time she was 9, she had also lived in the Hamptons as well as a summer home in upstate New York, a houseboat in the Virgin Islands, and an apartment in New York City. This is life on Hell's Kitchen and, sometimes, things get real awkward, real fast. But, you've already punched your ticket, so get ready to take the ride and see some of the most awkward moments on Hell's Kitchen. Ramsay called one of the contestants a plank. Anyone who's watched footage of Ramsay on his slew of reality shows, from MasterChef to Kitchen Nightmares, must know that he's never been one to mince words. She and her dad finally settled down in Virginia, although as a teenager she also spent a lot of time in London where her mother sang in a band. It wasn't exactly a conventional childhood, but Graham enjoyed it, telling NPR that it seemed like a great adventure. The actress fell in love with performance as a kid. Lauren Graham had plenty of inspiration for creativity growing up. Her mother was a singer and a painter, and while her dad worked in a less creative field as a lawyer and lobbyist, he nevertheless encouraged her obvious talent for performance. By now, every contestant surely realizes this, which is why their worst nightmare must be finding themselves on the receiving end of one of his epic reprimands. Graham told The Wall Street Journal that she would often recite poems and stories at dinner parties hosted by her dad, committing them to memory easily. Alas, Hell's Kitchen wouldn't be as popular as it is if the host was a soft-spoken beacon of positivity who built everyone up as often as possible. The reason my memory was so sharp is that my dad read poetry and books to me every night, she explained. While Graham was happy to give small performances at home for family and friends, she was less comfortable on stage. Instead, her primary passion growing up was horseback riding, which helped her muddle her way through when her high school drama teacher awarded her starring roles in school productions. No, viewers tune in to see Ramsay tear into the fearful faces of those trying to impress him. At first, I didn't have the confidence to perform, so I'd pretend I did, she told the publication. So, you'd better believe he held nothing back in the pilot episode of the series. At one point in the episode, Ramsay stood in front of covered dishes cooked by all the contestants. Horseback riding helped. One by one, he revealed each meal, called the contestant who cooked it to the table, and gave a brutally honest opinion of their work. It was the first thing I was ever good at, and it gave me a sense of myself. She went back and forth between her passions for theater and literature as time went on. Lauren Graham's confidence grew, and before long she became a theater major at New York University. When one contestant, an executive chef named Chris, approached the table to see how his cedar plank cooked salmon fared, he was met with a brutal Ramsay insult almost immediately. However, she told the Wall Street Journal that the field of study ended up not being a good fit for her. As she explained to Rookie, as much as she loved acting, studying theater didn't feel like school, it felt like something else. As a result, she changed not only her major but also her school, graduating instead from Barnard College with a degree in American literature, though this didn't make her entirely happy, either. "I was like, wait, I don't have enough time to do plays and musicals," she recalled. Still, she couldn't forget her passion for performing, and so she returned to school to pursue a master's degree in acting at Southern Methodist University. As she told Rookie, the reason she took so long to choose the right field of study was that she was torn between her love of acting and her love of academics. "I followed a bit of a snaky path and couldn't decide between the two," she explained, adding that she ultimately found herself somewhere in between. She once thought she'd have a stage career. While we know Lauren Graham primarily as a TV star, she personally always pictured herself with a career on stage. "My class wanted to be theater professionals, mainly," she said in an interview with her alma mater, Southern Methodist University. "We were kind of biased about what it meant to be an actor in film and television." Her training alone is not the reason for her desire to pursue stage work, though. After hearing Chris's description, the host was unimpressed. "I think you're a plank," Ramsay said. She explained to female.com.au that she grew up with going to the theater, and that her father would take her to both plays in the metro Washington, D.C. area where they lived along with shows on Broadway. She also did summer stock while pursuing her master's degree, telling Entertainment Weekly, "I got my equity card before any of my other unions. I thought I was on that path." Of course, as we know, in the end, she changed her mind about doing screen work, and, we have to say, we're pretty happy she did. Lauren Graham's acting career was slowly progressing, before landing her big break after graduating from Southern Methodist University in 1992. Lauren Graham spent several years as a struggling actor. Per the Wall Street Journal, she initially did commercial work in Brooklyn, New York, before making the cross-country move to Los Angeles where she lived with a relative. Her career was slow to take off, with TV pilots that never went anywhere and roles on TV shows that were cancelled. Still, Graham said she wasn't bummed, because she knew her career was progressing. She did land roles in those early years before getting her big break, however, with parts on Good Company, Caroline in the City, Townies, and Law and Order. She also landed a few movie roles in the 90s, including Night Watch, One True Thing, and Dill Scallion, but that breakthrough role eluded her for the rest of the decade. Plank means an idiot. After tearing apart the salmon dish, Ramsay instructed Chris to be a good plank and get back in line. Ouch. It may have been one of the worst dishes to come out of Hell's Kitchen. One Hell's Kitchen chef left the roe on scallops. No one can argue about how hard it is to impress a chef with a resume full of Michelin stars. But, when it does come time to step up to the plate, you have to do everything you possibly can to make sure you take a swing at that metaphorical pitch and crank it out as far into the outfield as you can. She remained optimistic, though, telling Good Housekeeping that she focused on taking baby steps. Lauren Graham originally didn't think Gilmore Girls would last. It's impossible to think of 2000s teen TV without the WB show, Gilmore Girls, coming to mind, and it's even more impossible to think of Gilmore Girls without thinking of Lauren Graham. On the series, Graham portrayed Lorelei Gilmore, the 30-something single mom of Rory, whose fast-talking, pop culture references and iconic outfits ruled primetime TV for the better part of the decade. The role proved to be a major turning point in Graham's career, though it actually almost never happened. She explained to Rookie that she was warned not to play a mom, yet she defied that advice and took on the role anyway. "It felt like what I had been looking for," she explained. As much as Graham loved Gilmore Girls, she didn't think that the show would last for long. At the time, the WB network was new, after all, and Graham's career to that date had been disappointing, with roles on swiftly cancelled shows. Even though it's tough to ensure every single nook and cranny is covered in a chaotic kitchen, much less on a reality show set, the basics must be done well, lest you incur the wrath of Ramsay. This led her to believe that Gilmore Girls would be short-lived, like the others, as she told the Wall Street Journal. One contestant named Michael realized he completely missed something very basic about his scallop dish and quickly learned how awkward things could get. Once Ramsay pulled the metal lid off the dish, Michael timidly approached the table. The host stabbed a scallop with his fork and held it up to the contestant, who almost instantly knew that he had screwed up big time. The show defied her expectations, though, and became a hit, running from 2000 to 2007, which proves you never can tell in this business, said our favorite TV mom. She made her Broadway debut in Guys and Dolls while Lauren Graham deviated from her early career ambitions of being on the stage. She was eventually able to achieve her Broadway goals after Gilmore Girls, Wrapped. Graham started in the Broadway revival of Guys and Dolls in 2009, playing Miss Adelaide, a dream role for the veteran performer. Ramsay, confused at what he was seeing, asked Michael, "What is that?" To which the contestant sheepishly responded, "The roe, sir." As anyone who likes scallops knows, the roe, or eggs, are always removed before serving. While she had her concerns about taking on such an iconic character, during her Broadway debut, no less, she worked hard to do the part justice, telling Playbill that she wanted to be sure she could honor such an amazing role. Graham did just that, with the Wall Street Journal raving about her performance. Not only is she a terrific singer, but she plays Adelaide with a rueful, leggy charm that is wholly endearing, wrote drama critic Terry Teachout. Though Graham hasn't appeared in a Broadway show since Guys and Dolls, we hope she returns to the Great White Way someday. Lauren Graham played another now unforgettable TV mom on Parenthood. Another fan favorite show Lauren Graham is known for as Parenthood. On the touching family drama, she once again played a single mother, this time, Sarah Braverman, and one whom viewers fell in love with just as they had with Lorelei Gilmore. Ramsay forced Michael to take a bite of the roe. Even though the contestant told Ramsay he didn't think it's that bad, the host swiftly told Michael that he has the palate of a cow's backside. Hell's Kitchen contestants argued about kitchen efficiency. When you bring a bunch of random people together on a reality television show, the casting directors know exactly who they want on set. After all, drama sells, so the personalities of the people selected will likely clash over the course of the show. Fights get ratings and, even though it's a bummer that people have to quarrel, it's kind of the point of reality television, at least if you're being honest with yourself. Graham told Redbook that she was warned not to play another mom, career advice that she thankfully ignored. The contestants chosen for Hell's Kitchen are no different, and so they have frequently found themselves at odds over their culinary strategy. During one lunch table team meeting, things got heated quickly after Chris, an executive chef, tore into fellow contestant Jeff over kitchen efficiency. "Mom isn't an adjective or a personality. They're not all the same," she said. While Graham once again portrayed a single mom on Parenthood, which ran from 2010 to 2015. This was a very different show from Gilmore Girls, and, as such, it gave Graham a chance to show off her range. While Graham's scenes in Gilmore Girls were often dominated by her, driving the scene with a lot of dialogue, as she told Main Line Today, Parenthood moved at a slower pace and was more introspective, requiring more ad-libbing than her previous show. As Ramsay often loudly reminds everyone, efficiency is the name of the game when it comes to restaurant service. It's a more inner life than an outer, verbal thing, she explained.
It's just, how do you find your place in a scene? She fell in love on the set of Parenthood. Parenthood not only brought Lauren Graham a great role, it also brought her a long-lasting relationship with Peter Krause, who played Sarah Braverman's brother, Adam, on the show. In real life, though, their relationship was much different from the sibling connection they portrayed on TV. Chefs who are little more than an efficiency roadblock do not go unnoticed. The two stars actually first met in the 90s, and their connection was quick, though they missed their chance at dating at the time. Chris, clearly upset by how Ramsay felt about his team's kitchen performance, began to vent, with Jeff singled out as the source of the problem. Jeff asked Chris, "What do you have on my A** today?" He then got up from his seat in anger while Chris implored Jeff to wait while he finished his sentence. Needless to say, Jeff disagreed with the point Chris was making and stormed off, leaving the rest of the team to sit around the table in ultra-awkward silence. Some Hell's Kitchen chefs became pasta monsters. People who have never made their own pasta have no idea how much energy it takes to produce all those strands of starchy goodness. Home chefs make the easy choice of buying the pre-made dry stuff because tossing a handful of fettuccine into boiling water is a heck of a lot easier to prepare. We couldn't stop talking, Graham told Good Housekeeping. Not about ourselves, but about the world and books and family. While they remained friends over the years, they didn't actually start dating until they worked together on the set of Parenthood, after which things got serious pretty quickly, although the public didn't know about the relationship for a while, because we like to be at home, cooking and not going out, as Graham explained to Redbook in 2010. But, in order to know just how talented the show's contestants were, one Hell's Kitchen challenge involved two teams making their own pasta as quickly as possible. She added that she was protective of the relationship, because it's important that you can buy us as brother and sister on the show. She and Krause have been together ever since and still do their best to keep their personal life out of the spotlight. And the way the pasta was presented had several contestants looking pretty unusual. The dough went flying and fistfuls of flour were hucked back and forth over the raw sheets of pasta during the challenge, but each team cranked out as much of it as they could within the allotted time limit. And, once they finally churned out the individual strands, they had to carefully drape them over the arms and head of one chosen contestant who stood carefully while the pasta was piled on top of their appendages. Once time ended, viewers saw a team of relieved contestants along with the spaghetti monsters they had just created with their carby drapings. It's not a big, loud life. We keep it small, Graham told Good Housekeeping. Laurel Graham is happy to be a cool aunt. While Lauren Graham has played several memorable moms on television, she doesn't have any biological children of her own. There are a lot of kids in her life, though, and she's happy being the friend adult, as she described to Mom. She said that one of her friends even calls her Cool Aunt Lauren, because of her ability to bond with his kids, who will tell her things that they won't tell him. The most important kid in Graham's life, however, is Roman, the son of her boyfriend, Peter Krause, with whom she seems to have a good relationship. Graham's best parenting advice? Listening. She explained to Mom that she's been able to get kids to open up to her by asking questions and then not answering for them. Graham added that sometimes this leads to silence, but that's okay. It's important to let them find their way to what they want to say. It was an entertaining challenge to watch, but you couldn't help thinking the people holding the pasta felt like culinary coat racks. One Hell's Kitchen contestant threw out the lobster. When you work in a fast-paced kitchen, there's no time to deal with anyone who doesn't show up with their game face on. Well, one of those aspects of a game face requires a person to know what they can and cannot throw into the garbage. And to just ask more questions. The actress is also a best-selling author. Lauren Graham is a woman of many talents, and one of them is writing. It'd be the worst thing in the world to suddenly realize you accidentally threw away something pertinent to a dinner shift, but that's exactly what happened to one contestant named Jimmy. Chef Ramsay was quick to notice and, naturally, he let the stressed contestant know exactly how he felt about the mistake. Jimmy was frantically trying to get a lobster dinner in a halibut dish finished on the fish station he was tasked with managing.
In 2013, her debut novel, Someday, Maybe, became a New York Times bestseller. In the midst of the craziness, Jimmy took a tray of cooked lobster tails and mindlessly dumped them into the garbage, thinking it wasn't needed for the remainder of the service. She told American Profile that, while the book centers on a young woman trying to make it as an actress in the 90s, it's not autobiographical, though she admitted that her own experiences formed a starting place for the novel. Jimmy was dead wrong. What I wanted to write about was starting out, following a dream, not knowing if you are going to make it, she explained. The book was considered for TV, and Graham even wrote a pilot episode for the planned CW drama. While a network exec praised the script as excellent via TV Line, the show sadly never got off the ground. Graham has kept writing, though, releasing a book of essays called Talking as Fast as I Can, From Gilmore Girls to Gilmore Girls, and Everything in Between, in 2016. Another book of essays, In Conclusion, Don't Worry About It, followed in 2018. Within minutes, Ramsay desperately asked the kitchen, "Where's the lobster?" Jimmy responded, "It was sitting here," but he was likely very aware that he had just screwed up big time. In an effort to keep his station clean, he had tossed the expensive crustaceans into the trash. Her essays proved to be just as popular as her fiction, with both collections also becoming New York Times bestsellers. She was excited for the Gilmore Girls reboot. Gilmore Girls, fans everywhere were delighted when the show got a 4-part Netflix reboot in 2016. Considering the unsatisfying end of the original series thanks to an abrupt cancellation, the highly anticipated reboot was an opportunity for the characters, and fans, to get some long-overdue closure. Lauren Graham was excited to revisit stars Hollow and the world of Gilmore Girls for the special limited series called Gilmore Girls: A Year in the Life. In an interview with NPR, Graham said, "It was incredibly gratifying. Something I could never have foreseen of reprising the character, which she considers to be the best match, in terms of actor and material that I've ever had. She's open to more Gilmore Girls episodes, too, if the stars ever align, and she even has a clause in all of her contracts that will allow her to take time off from another project if she ever has the chance to play Lorelei again. I put that window into all my new jobs just in case," she said on SiriusXM's EU Live, via ET. Ramsay demanded answers and Jimmy had to cook up more, but everyone in the kitchen knew who was to blame. While there's nothing official in the works, Graham lives in hope of the show's return, and so do we. Lauren Graham starred in a Mighty Ducks reboot while Lauren Graham wasn't in the original Mighty Ducks films, which were released in the 90s. She fit in perfectly for the 2021 Disney Plus reboot of the franchise. You couldn't help but feel terrible for the frantic contestant. Ramsay didn't want a re-fired risotto. One of the worst moments in the flurry of kitchen chaos is when a meal is prepared long before the rest of the table meals are ready and therefore requires a re-fire. Per Rotten Tomatoes, The Mighty Ducks: Game Changers centers on a young hockey player named Evan whose mom, played by Graham, encourages him to form a new team of underdogs with help from Gordon Bombay, the Ducks' original coach. Graham wanted to star on the show, to do a comedy and be a little goofy, as she explained to Republic World. The TV series also gave Graham the opportunity to ice skate, which she had a lot of fun with. That means the entire dish needs to be remade because it's inevitably going to arrive at the table cold, and that's precious time gone. She recalled to Collider that her agent asked her if she was just picking jobs now, according to what else you get to do, and she admitted that this was a part of wanting the role. Wasted time is something a Michelin-starred chef simply does not accept, which is why Ramsay lost his cool on a team of chefs who were barely keeping their heads above water when it came to making creamy, delicious risotto. "I've had such wonderful parts and now I look at maybe a little more of the whole picture," she explained, adding that she gets excited about projects where, in addition to acting, she gets to learn a new skill. When time is of the essence, attitudes inevitably get snippy and workers need to step up their hustles. Ramsay was in dire need of 2 risotto dishes that a table had been waiting on for too long. When the plates finally made it to the window, Ramsay examined them and was more than annoyed at the contestants. "That's not right. It's not a good job," the host shouted as he dug through the pan of risotto with a fork. He pointed out that every grain of rice was visible and there wasn't enough butter. Simone, the chef in charge of the risotto, told Ramsay she was ready to re-fire the dish altogether. Ramsay screamed at her, "No. Not re-firing. Finish it." Simone managed to get the dishes finished, at least, but she did so with her tail between her legs while her peers watched her embarrassment. One chef stormed out of Hell's Kitchen. Mutiny among kitchen team members often can't be avoided. Different people come from different backgrounds and not everyone is imbued with the same kind of work ethic. Those varying styles often come out during the intensity of a restaurant shift and, when 2 very different methods clash, fireworks can occur. During one episode, a contestant named Joy gave teammate Beth a brutal tongue-lashing. The other team members looked on at the exchange with disgust, but no one else wanted to find themselves in the middle of such drama. Obviously, no one on the show worked with Beth while she was in action at her hometown job. But the tactics she employed in the kitchen on this particular day made it seem like no one would have wanted to do so. It was almost as if it was her first day around kitchen ingredients and equipment. Joy, talking loudly enough for the whole kitchen to hear, said, "How about we go service without Beth? I don't even care." Well, Beth heard this and did not respond well. She looked at Joy in disgust, responding, "Ya know what? I don't even care." With that, Beth marched out of the kitchen while the rest of her teammates stood around in awkward disbelief that they had to now pick up the additional slack. Beth vented to several of the other teammates in the hallway, but the damage to the dinner shift was already done. A Hell's Kitchen contestant served Ramsay's family subpar food. One of the perks of knowing a world-renowned chef is snagging reservations at a restaurant they run. Not only will you get assigned the most attentive servers in the place, but you're likely to have some off-the-menu specialties sent to the table directly from the chef. It's good to be the ruler of the kitchen. Plus, having the ability to impress friends and family with your culinary creations is even better. This is why when one contestant prepared dishes for a very particular family, Ramsay got extra aggressive in his dress down. That particular family, by the way, was Ramsay's own wife and daughters. That's right. The man who carries the reins of the entire show and decides who's next on the chopping block invited his family into the Hell's Kitchen restaurant for a nice evening out. This is why, when contestant Vinny fell behind on a risotto meant for Ramsay's family, he felt the heat of Ramsay's anger like no one before. "Vinny, I need the F***ing risotto," the host frantically shouted as other teammates scrambled around the kitchen. The skillet Vinny handed Ramsay was old. Big mistake. As Vinny walked back to his station, Ramsay said, "Hey bozo, come here, you. Shut your fat East Coast mouth. This table you just sent me that for is my family." Vinny managed to embarrass the last person you ever want to humiliate in a kitchen, the executive chef. One Hell's Kitchen chef mixed up veal for filet mignon. One of the things you can expect when you look at a menu is that the options you're perusing are exactly what you'll receive should you order them. And why would that expectation fall in any other direction? It's printed on the menu, after all. One expectation no hungry patron should ever walk into an establishment feeling is the item they order through the server isn't what's written on the menu, and that's why contestant Krupa dropped the ball immensely hard when it came to her veal stew. Let's just say Ramsay couldn't meet her halfway. Red team member Krupa stood alongside a blue team member to display their dishes to a panel of chefs, as well as host Ramsay. She nervously unveiled a veal stew, which one judge told her after his first bite, "Not surprisingly it tastes a hell of a lot better than it looks." This backhanded compliment was immediately countered by Ramsay, who gave Krupa one of the most embarrassing comments ever. "That, madam, is not veal. It's filet mignon." Once Ramsay called out Krupa on her massive blunder, the contestants waiting behind her dropped their jaws, and for good reason. Krupa, being a private chef, had no idea what possessed me to grab the filet and not the veal. She claimed she was aware of the difference, but her awkward mistake said otherwise. Hell's Kitchen saw chaos over beef Wellington. Chaos is a natural state of being when a high-profile kitchen is firing on all cylinders. Even when service is going smoothly on the floor, one look at the kitchen might convince you otherwise. Anyone who's worked in a busy restaurant knows that everyone is trying to keep the sinking ship afloat for another night and, as long as nothing absolutely insane happens, it's usually a manageable feat. However, the occasional bump in the road hits every kitchen and it can hit hard and fast, sending the whole operation into freefall. This is exactly what happened in one episode when a customer requested a rare beef Wellington. A freefall ensued, as did the immediate kitchen panic amongst contestants. Contestant Brad, who was manning the beef Wellington station, wasn't exactly honest when it came to the temperature of the dishes. Although he assured his kitchen staff the beef would be done within 2 minutes, Ramsay wanted to get a visual preview of the end product. He asked Brad to turn over each piece, and lo and behold, they were charred black. Pointing to Brad, Ramsay promised him, "If you give me them, I'll crawl up your *** sideways." Not exactly the sentiment you want from the man determining your future on the show. As Ramsay kicked the oven in anger, you could tell everyone around wanted to shrink into their metaphorical shells.